Dad's new girlfriend moved in and tried to control every detail of our lives. So I finally snapped, called her out in front of my friends for manipulating him. And now he won't speak to me because she's gone and he's too ashamed to admit. She was wrong that I'm 16 years old now, and I tragically lost my mother at a very young age. Since then, it's just been my dad and me. My mom passed away when I was 6 months old due to several health complications that were made even worse by the pregnancy. So, in a way, she sacrificed her life trying to give birth to me. She had known all along that continuing with the pregnancy would be extremely dangerous for her health because she had a couple of existing illnesses, but she decided to push through, and unfortunately, it didn't end well for her. I don't know many details about it, but this is essentially what happened. After my mother's passing, my dad, who is 40, seemed to make it his mission to ensure I had the best of everything. I wouldn't say I'm a spoiled kid, but my dad has truly never refused me anything I've asked for. So, I know he loves me deeply. And he is my entire world, and I obviously love him just as much. He would do anything for me, and I would do the same for him. I'm just getting this out of the way before people start judging me as an evil daughter unwilling to share her father with anyone. Anyway, my dad has, of course, dated people after my mother passed away. For the first couple of years, when I was very little, he didn't see anyone. But once I was old enough, around 5 or 6, he started dating again. It was fair enough because he and my mom were never even married. They had just been dating for a couple of years, but even then, he was pretty serious about her, and so was she. They were eventually going to get married, but it didn't work out. I had barely known my mother, so I didn't mind it when he brought other people home, and I don't think I would have minded it even if I had known my mother, because after we lost her, things had been pretty dark for him, if I'm going by what I have heard from my grandparents. So, I'm happy that he tried to move on with his life, and I think even if things had been different, if my parents had broken up instead of my mother passing away, I still would have wanted him to go out and date other people. He's had a few girlfriends. Sometimes it's been serious. Occasionally, it's been nothing more than a fling. We don't exactly sit down and have deep conversations about it, but he keeps me updated just in case if he genuinely connects with someone and decides to marry them, I should know about it. So, he occasionally discusses it with me. I'm fine with him seeing people, and I always have been. But I guess my dad's new girlfriend is just too foolish to grasp that and has it in for me because she just assumed that I'm not going to approve of their relationship. My father began dating Jacqueline, 8 months ago. She had been quite reserved and quiet in the beginning, but after that, she just transformed into a complete nightmare, and I didn't even realize when that happened. It was probably around the time that she moved in with us 3 months ago. It was supposed to be for a short while since my dad only ever asked his girlfriends to move in with him once they had surpassed the 1-year mark. So far, that had only happened once before, but eventually, he and his ex had to break up after 2 years of dating because she had been offered a new job in a different country and had decided to move. My father obviously couldn't relocate because we had our whole life here, and so they ended up breaking up. This was the second time that he had asked one of his girlfriends to move in with him, but that was more out of a sense of obligation rather than because he actually wanted to. It had not been enough time for him to make such a big decision, but the apartment that Jacqueline lived in previously had mold and was being treated for the same, so he had asked her to move in with him after she had complained to him about it at least twice a day for 2 whole weeks, so he had to pick up on that hint and ask her to move in with him. She said yes and happily moved in with all her belongings, which should have been our first red flag, because if she was just moving in with us for a couple of days, she definitely did not need to bring every single thing that she owned with her. After about 2 weeks of staying with us, my dad asked her if her apartment was ready to be moved back into. She told him that she had ended the lease because she liked living with him and she thought that it was about time that they made things official by living together. She told my dad that she really liked him and she had dated a lot of men before, but had never met anybody like him. My father liked her too. She was smart and successful and quite beautiful, but it had only been 5 months of them being together, so he was kind of skeptical about living together and allowing her to move in with us. But she kind of convinced him that it was the right thing to do, and she brought up the fact that he was not getting any younger. She had said things like how I also needed a maternal figure in my life, and she was ready to be that for me, so it would really be for the best to move in together instead of wasting more time, because in her head, she had decided that she wanted to be with him. and she then gave him an ultimatum, saying that if he was not ready to move in, she would take it as a sign that he was not serious about this relationship. So my dad got strong-armed into letting her move in before he was ready. And that's how we ended up spending the last 3 months living together. Even though I absolutely couldn't stand her in the first few months of them being together, my dad and Jacqueline would see each other every day, and she would come over almost every other day after work, but would spend most of the time in his room and wouldn't bother me too much. So I didn't have to interact with her much, and whatever interactions we did have together, it was pretty civil and cordial, so I didn't have a problem with her. But after she moved in, she was suddenly everywhere, and that was a bit jarring. And when I say everywhere, I literally mean it. Just after 1 month of living together, it felt like she had taken over the entire house. She had started changing things left and right without bothering to think about how it would affect us. At first, it was just insignificant things, like how our house was decorated. Eventually, it was like she had replaced everything to suit her own tastes, and all the house decor items that we did have initially had been moved into the attic because they did not suit her. She did this without consulting anybody. She didn't even know that these were the things that my father and I had personally bought, and they were dear to us. But I didn't say anything about it because she was a guest, and I wanted her to be comfortable. Also, I didn't see it as important enough to pick a fight over. But then she started moving on, trying to change bigger things. After we had been living together for almost 1 month, she declared that she would take over the cooking, and we were fine with that as well. But then she started controlling our food habits as well. The problem was that Jacqueline was strictly plant-based and expected us to adapt to her lifestyle, insisting that it was safe and healthy. She believed that our food habits had been dangerous earlier, and now that she was here, she could no longer allow it to continue in good conscience. So she would cook every day for us, and it was kind of frustrating because once in a while I wanted to have things that I liked as well. But she had already cooked meals for us, and I did not want to let that food go to waste, so my father and I would just have to shut up and eat what she made because we did not want her efforts and the food to be wasted. And because she always claimed that she was doing it to make us healthy and was just looking out for us, it was even more difficult to argue with her. I had been nice to her and did not protest against any of it, even though I was really struggling to make my peace with the fact that this woman would be living with us, all because my father had always insisted that I be nice to her. I could tell that he really liked her in spite of all her weird quirks, so I tried my best to be nice and put up with her. But then she started taking things too far and started trying to control me as well, and that's where I drew the line because nobody gets to boss me around in my own house. Not even my dad does that. And it was weird things too, like I really like drinking iced coffee, but then one day she just told me that I was ruining my body with all that sugar and caffeine and told me that was banned for everybody in this household from now onwards. I didn't like that. I tried to argue with her, but she told me that she was just looking out for my health, and I could continue to drink iced coffee if I wanted, but it was just going to disappoint her since she knew that it was going to ruin my health. Now it's not like I drink iced coffee every hour. It's just a couple of days in the week, and I don't think that will do anybody any harm. I still get iced coffee. I just had to sneak it in, which was pretty annoying because it's my house, and I don't think I have to feel the need to sneak in anything, but I just did not want another sermon from her about how this was bad for my health. So that's why I had to make sure that she did not see me having iced coffee. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, no pun intended. A couple of weeks ago, she saw me walking around the house with my hair in a ponytail, which is something I always do. I always have my hair in a ponytail, and I only undo it when I'm in my room, and I don't have to go anywhere or before going to bed because I find it to be convenient so that my hair doesn't keep falling into my face, and literally nobody has ever had a problem with it. But then she started making comments about how it was not good for my hairline, and I should let my hair down as well. I would have appreciated it if she hadn't already gotten on my nerves, but that just rubbed me the wrong way, and we ended up kind of getting into a fight because I told her that I found this practical, and she did not need to try and control every aspect of my life because it was getting really annoying. She got offended, so she complained to my dad about it. My father had just come home from work, and he works longer hours than she does, so he was exhausted from that already, and he just sat me down and told me not to say anything to her because he wanted to be nice. I tried to argue with him, but I did not have the heart to carry on because he just looked tired, so I let it go, and I decided that I was just going to respond to her and give her the satisfaction, because clearly she had it in for me and was actually trying to get on my nerves. But that's easier said than done because she just kept trying to boss me around and would always have something to say whenever the two of us were home alone. She is a high school teacher, but in a different school, so she and I usually come back home around the same time, and then we have to spend the rest of the day together until the evening when my dad comes back home. I usually try to steer clear of her and just stay in my room, but every time that I would come downstairs to get something for myself, she would always have some stupid remark to make, and I mostly tried to ignore it for the past couple of months. But it was just getting really hard. Sometimes it would be about my appearance, or about what I ate, or about what I was wearing, and it was just truly frustrating. Sometimes I did respond to her, and every time it would end in a fight, and then she would complain to my dad about it. So, mostly for his sake, I tried to keep my mouth shut because I knew that he wouldn't break up with her in spite of all of this. He actually seemed to like her, and I did not know what he saw in her, but I knew that he liked her a lot. And every time that she complained to him, she would always make it sound like I was the one who was trying to go out of my way and create drama. She kept insinuating that the only reason that we did not get along was because apparently I was the one who still wasn't over the fact that my dad was dating somebody new and it seems to be getting serious, which is just all nonsense. I made it very clear in the first paragraph of my post that I am fine with my father dating other people. I just wasn't fine with Jacqueline because she was the one who had started drama with me and was constantly trying to get on my nerves. But every time that I would argue with her and hit back, she would play the victim and act like I was picking on her and being rude to her for no reason. And she was the one who always had my best interests at heart. It was really annoying, and I knew it was taking a toll on my father as well, because he was torn between the two of us. However, about 3 days ago, things went south in a really bad way, and since then, everyone's been really mad at me. So, I invited a couple of friends over, and usually when I have my friends over, we just stay in my room and ignore Jacqueline's existence because they know that I don't have a good relationship with her, because I went to them all the time about her. Anyway, this time we were all sitting in the living room and watching a movie because we did not want to watch it on my laptop and wanted to watch it on the biggest screen in the house, which was our television. It's a free country, and it's my house, so I can do whatever I want to. And so my friends and I took over the living room. We did not ask Jacqueline to leave, but when Jacqueline realized that we would be sitting in the living room, she went back to her bedroom by her own choice, and I thought that there would be no trouble now that she had gone inside her own room. But right in the middle of the movie, she decided to come back out and try to boss me around. She interrupted us while we were in the middle of the movie and told me that she wanted me to fold my clothes and take them up to my room since she did not want the laundry to just be sitting there. And I tried to tell her that I would do it later since I was literally in the middle of watching a movie right now, so it was pretty reasonable. Anyway, on most days, I just take clean clothes, go to my room, and then fold them and put them in my cupboard. I have always done my own laundry ever since I was old enough, and it was really annoying that she was acting like she was the one who always did it for me. Nobody had to tell me to do it, and I did not understand why she was trying to show off her authority and control over me in front of my friends at the time. But she refused to budge and told me that I couldn't continue watching the movie until I did whatever was asked because it was my duty, and I couldn't wiggle my way out of it just because my friends had come over. That really pissed me off because she knew it quite well that I always do my own chores, and yet she was acting like I don't do anything. I knew that this was her way of trying to humiliate me in front of my friends, and she was just trying to boss me around because she knew that she could get away with it. I couldn't take it. I finally snapped and launched into a rant against her right in front of my friends, deciding to put her in her place. I told her that first things first, this was my house. It belonged to my dad and not to her, so she had literally no right to come here and try to boss me around. And more importantly, she wasn't even truly welcome here. She had manipulated my father into allowing her to stay here, so she should just be grateful that she even has a roof over her head right now, because if it had been up to me, she would never have been living here in the first place. And then I told her that I also knew what she was trying to do. She was trying to put me down and get me under her control so that it would be easier for her to control my father as well. But unfortunately, I was going to make sure that it never happened. I never had any issues with any of my dad's girlfriends because they were not such blatant liars and manipulators, but she was different. She wanted to have my dad wrapped around her little finger, and for that, She had to make sure that she had me under her thumb as well, and I could see it pretty clearly, so it was not going to work on me. She could try her best to humiliate me and boss me around, but I was always going to keep standing up for myself. I told her that I knew that she was after my dad because he was successful and she wanted that for herself, but it would probably not last long enough because even though my dad liked her, that was not enough to sustain a relationship, and he also had to be able to tolerate her. At the rate that she was going, it did not seem likely that he would be able to make it work for much longer since she was literally one of the worst people I have ever come across in my entire life. Because anybody who tries to play mind games with a 16-year-old does not deserve to have any sort of peace in their life. After that, I told her that so far I have not been trying to break her and my father up, but now since she had been insinuating it and trying to turn my dad against me for so long, I was finally going to give in and do exactly what she was accusing me of, so she had better watch her back. After saying all of that to her face, my friends and I left the room and went back into my own room. After discussing it for a while, and once I had calmed down, they decided to leave as well. Jacqueline did not speak to me after that, and there was complete silence in the house until my dad came back home in the evening. A couple of minutes after he came back, he came straight to my room. Usually, when he returns home from work, I go down to greet him and we talk, but this time I didn't go down because I knew that he would come up first. Jacqueline was done complaining to him about what I had said, and sure enough, that's what had happened. I heard his car pull up in the driveway, and he entered the house, and within 15 minutes, he was in my room asking me why Jacqueline was crying so hard and accusing me of hating her and trying to break them up. It was really clever on her part, because while I was alone in the house, I hadn't been able to hear a single thing, but as soon as my dad came back home, she started howling and crying as if the worst had happened. I knew it was all an act, and I told my dad the same. I told him the truth, and I also mentioned that I knew that he really liked her, but I couldn't put up with this kind of behavior anymore. I told him that she had constantly been trying to pick on me, and this time she had crossed the line by trying to boss me around and humiliate me in front of my friends. She was not my mother. She had no right to speak to me and act the way that she did. And I think if my mother had been around, she would definitely not try to treat me like this. She was just trying to show everyone how much authority she had in this household and was trying to establish her place as a member of the family, which was not something she had earned. She was trying to force her way into our family, and it was clear. So I told my father that I could not stay quiet anymore, and I knew that he had always insisted that I needed to be nice to her. But she had taken things way too far, and I couldn't tolerate this, and that's why I had finally stood up to her. And if he had come to my room to ask me to apologize, he could forget about it, because I was not going to say anything to that woman. And if he wanted to continue to date her, I would be fine with that, but I did not accept her, and I was just going to pretend that she did not exist anymore. My father did not say anything. He just left the room, and it's been 3 days since, and I don't know what's going on. Jacqueline left the house the very next day without an explanation, and when I tried to ask my dad what happened, he told me that he just needed some space, and he would talk to me later. My dad and I have had disagreements before, but this time, he just seemed really annoyed and upset, and I felt like he was mad at me for whatever had happened. I don't know if he and Jacqueline have broken up or not, but she has left. She did not pack her things and go, so I don't know if she will be back. I just don't have any idea about what's going to happen right now. Anyway, I spoke to my grandparents about this as well, and they think that it is important for me to stand up for myself, and they have maintained that ever since I first started having problems with Jacqueline. But they said that the things that were said to her were not right, and it was just really disrespectful. I feel bad about everything that has happened because right now it feels like everybody needs some space away from me. And most of all, I hate the fact that my father is acting this way, because for the past 3 days, ever since Jacqueline left, we have only spoken to each other the bare minimum, and it's been weird. I don't know. Was I wrong for being rude to my dad's girlfriend because she had been trying to boss me around and humiliate me in front of my friends? Update 1 Hi. So it's been 5 days since Jacqueline left, and today, after reading most of the comments here, I decided to finally speak to my father. I know most of you guys think that he's a bad father and he's messed up and stuff, but trust me, that's not the case. This is just a small part. It does not define him, and he has always been the best father to me. So I would say that this is going to ruin our relationship. But anyway, I finally spoke to him, and I told him that I wanted to sort things out and clear the air between the two of us because he was my best friend, and I did not like what was going on. And we were finally able to talk to each other today. And he told me that the reason he needed space was because he had finally dumped Jacqueline that night itself. He had made up his mind that he was going to break up with her because she was miserable and could not afford that. And the real reason he had asked for some space was that he couldn't even bring himself to confront what he had done, since he believed that he had been selfish and thought that maybe I was going to have a different opinion of him now. So I assured him that I did not think of him as any less of a good father just because he had been kind of selfish this one time, because he had found a woman that he really liked so much after so long. Every parent messes up occasionally. I guess every human being messes up, and the most that we can do is just feel sorry about it and then try to move on from that. He also apologized for not being transparent with me and talking to me these past few days. He said he just felt very lost and didn't know what to do, and he did not want me to feel responsible for any of this. So he had just kept it all to himself. And then in the process, he might have messed things up for us even more. But I told him that it was fine. These were new waters for both of us, and we did not know how to navigate them. I'm just glad that we had been able to talk things out with each other, so we were able to clear the air, and it's all good now. Update 6 days have passed since Jacqueline left, and still no word from her. My father told me that he hadn't tried to reach out to her either since he knew it would be pretty awkward, especially after he told her to leave after the big fight that we had. I'm just hoping she comes back soon and collects her things because we don't want to drag this out, as that will only lead to more drama, and I've already been feeling pretty anxious. The sooner she comes back, packs all her things, and leaves, the faster we can wrap up everything and try to move on. Truth be told, I honestly just can't wait for her to take all her stuff with her so we can bring the things that she had put into the attic back out again, and our home can go back to looking like our home. Update 3. It's been a week since Jacqueline left. Today, she came by to collect her things. She had come with a friend and she looked really devastated, but whatever happened was kind of her fault, so I didn't really feel bad for her. I guess she didn't really think things through and believed that my dad was one of those fathers who might have picked her over his daughter. Unfortunately, my dad's not like that, so she grossly misjudged the situation. Anyway, it was the weekend, so both my father and I were at home, and it was pretty awkward to watch her pack the last of her things, but in an hour it was over. She then said one final goodbye to my father. They hugged it out, and it was pretty awkward to watch. Anyway, she did not even glance at me for the entire time that she was here, and I for one am grateful because I don't even know how I would have reacted to her interacting with me. Anyway, it's all over now, and we can all finally move on with our lives.